Bush Sr. wrote them all the letter?
Bush Sr., it really, yeah, it took place under Bush Sr. is really the one. They issued an apology and they issued reparations. On this, if you remember when we had talked about this, they started off this case the exact same way that Brown versus Board of Education would start later on. Anytime a classification is based primarily on race, it is immediately constitutionally suspect. But what they said was, in this instance, the men are going to have to fight the war, the women are going to have to serve in the factories, work in the factories, and the Japanese Americans are going to have to relocate to concentration camps and do their duty ultimately to save the country. And they were relocated so that they would not help pave the way for a Japanese invasion. Go ahead, pick me a category because y'all keep getting them right.
Congress chair for 3 points.
Congress for 3.
Wait, did we not get points for what I said?
No, not really. Click it. Washington surrendering his military commission. Y'all have it firsthand. You'll have it next. 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
George Washington, I think it was after his first 2 terms, resigned his power just for the sake to preserve.
Okay, now we talk about political power or his military commission? Because this was a picture, I recall, at the Congress.
It wasn't the painting on top of the Capitol, was it?
It wasn't the painting on top of the Capitol, but it was in that room. 5. Anybody in your group? 4. Say what?
The one where he's
No, not the shoe. 3. Anybody in the group? 2. 1. -3.
What? They answered wrong like 3 times. They never got minus points.
Well, yeah, okay. Y'all really need to get something right for bonus points. Anything at all? 4, 3, 2, 1. Washington's commission. Washington's commission was actually considered one of the most important symbolic situations in American history because he resigned his military commission at the end of the Revolutionary War. And if you remember on this, he did it in Annapolis in the Maryland State Legislature. And what was significant about this was he could have continued to rule as a military leader, but he gave up that piece and then ultimately was elected president. This was considered a very strong statement for democracy. So keep that thought in mind. Willie, touch the house. And, yeah, Willie's doing his own thing. Not sure. Pick me a category. Actually, y'all pick me one this time. And you're distantly in second place.
Legislative for 5.
Legislature for 5. Got a list. Here's your chance. Question time. You'll have it next. Question time. Y'all have it.
You going to ask this question?
What is the significance of question time?
It's how people in Great Britain debate.
Explain.
The old prime minister and the new potential prime minister.
Is it the old prime minister and the potential new prime minister? 5. 4.
No, it's with the current prime minister.
It's the current prime minister and who?
And the opposing party.
It is. It's actually the current prime minister. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the opposition leader. And what is it that they're doing exactly? Because I believe I showed you video on this.
They're asking him questions about the policies.
Who is asking the questions?
Opposition.
The opposition leader. And what's the purpose behind asking these questions?
To try to make them look.
They're trying to like poke holes in his policy.
It is. The goal is basically to try to embarrass, to really make them look bad. Because if you can embarrass the existing government, then in fact they're either A, going to have to change policies, or B, this might get people to start thinking they need to change the government. Anything else you can tell me about this? 4.
Well, sometimes it gets like crazy and they're like throwing food and spitting on each other and stuff. Exactly.
Yeah, they're yelling at each other. And
Willie, are you buying that one?
you said you quoted. You said you would imagine that this is what it would be like if America did it if all of our politicians got drunk in a bar and started arguing.
Yeah, but I didn't say anything about spitting food and things. -5.
No, I don't agree with that.
What? Go ahead.
Call for an election.
What's that?
They can call for the election to take place.
Explain that to me.
So they have like 7 years, right? So they can.
That's probably a little bit different than actually question time, though. Can you give me anything else from the video? Anything that they were arguing about that day? 5.
They were arguing.
4.
The opposition was saying that he wanted to call for a re-election because the prime minister calls for, like the current prime minister calls for a re-election.
I think you're relatively close on that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They were actually really lambasting the current prime minister because he wouldn't call for an election, and he wouldn't call for an election because, in fact, he knew that it would actually be a defeat. Go ahead, touch the house. Pick me a category. Y'all are on the board. 3 for legislature. Separation of power versus fusion of power. Yeah, y'all have it. Whoever in the group, go ahead.
Okay, so separation of power is like the.
Yeah, it's y'all, your group.
It's
Yeah.
like the United States separation of power. There's a legislative, executive, and judicial branch.
Okay.
Fusion of power is like Great Britain, where the parliament is works together with.
Is it just that they work together?
Well, the upper and the lower commons come from the party, which is. Yeah, they work together, and then they work with the courts as well. You have to be in the parliament to be in the court.
Now you're starting to make some sense. 1, 2, 3. Fusion of power in Britain is actually the idea that if you want to serve in the government, you've got to be a member of the parliament. So the prime minister is a member of parliament. The cabinet, members of parliament. The courts come from parliament. You've got to be in the parliament to be part of something else. The only one that isn't is actually the monarch, and the monarch is kind of outside of the system. Tell me more about the United States system. How does the United States system compare to this fusion idea?
So there's checks and balances. So like when let's say when the president wants to elect a Supreme Court judge, they have to get it approved by the Senate. They basically they pick someone, and then the Senate has to vote on whether or not they want that judge to be.
Okay, I'm starting to lose interest. Go ahead.
Like nobody in one branch can serve in the other branch at the same time.
Yeah, that's actually the easiest way of saying it. In the United States, Barack is not ever, or Trump, or W, or Clinton. None of these presidents or former presidents would ever be a member of the legislative branch. And in fact, it's very rare that somebody's president ever goes on to one of the other branches, but we may have a category that deals with that later. So separation of powers specifically forbids this. Part of the reason why the president is strong, because the president can stand on his own 2 feet and is not dependent on the other branches. Go ahead, click it, Willie. Separation of powers. Go back to it, Willie.
Oh, what's Blackie, you know?
I know, Willie's doing his own thing. 3 for Congress. Oh God, Willie. No, maybe it's not 3 for Congress. Willie's doing his own thing. Zoom in on Willie right now because he's really struggling.
Which one? Legislatures for 3.
Legislatures. Click it, Willie. Stop. Separation of power in U.S. presidential system. You can only hold one office of government at a time. Fusion of power. In parliamentary system, you have to be in the parliament in order to serve in other areas of the government, holding more than one office simultaneously. Touch the House. Pick me a category. Y'all are decently in 2nd place right now. And we're running out of time.
Articles 4.
Articles for 4. A Pictionary. Who's going to draw this one? Just need somebody to come up quick. Don't say it out loud. I need you to draw that. Got it? And just grab one and we'll start it on the 9. Your group can guess. Go ahead. Oh my. You can get closer if you, oh my. Wow, I thought this was really easy. 25 seconds. Oh my. That's not bad.
Headshot. Murder.
I can't do that.
Yeah.
Pretty good. That's pretty good.
30 seconds. Ryan, come film from this side. You got to get the look on his face because this is really priceless.
Gun violence.
15 seconds.
Gun crime?
Second Amendment.
Is it right
Castle
to
doctors?
defend yourself?
Look at the whole picture.
Is it right to defend yourself?
No.
Oh.
5,
License to carry.
4, 3,
Banana?
2, 1. I need a guess.
Oh
No idea.
Go ahead.
It's when they shot and killed the gorilla. Harambe.
This was gorilla is what it was. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, wrong group. Sorry. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, tell me about Harambe. And then the first hand I see's got it next. Y'all have it.
It had to do with like, where's that guy that's gonna
A little bit louder. I'm sorry.
So this little kid somehow like fell or made it himself like a gorilla enclosure.
In gorilla enclosure where?
It was
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati Zoo, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, oh, 4, it's just 4, my bad. Yeah, this little kid actually made it into a gorilla enclosure. And in fact, you can actually see, because I showed you the video of this little kid right beside this giant gorilla. Tell me more.
So then the gorilla, like, I guess found the child and started dragging the child around through the water.
That's all the gorilla did was just drag it around? 4.
First, it was just observing it, and then just kind of dragged it really, really far away. And then
Really far away.
What?
Yeah. Keep going. 3. Zoom in, Ryan. Make sure. 2.
And people shot the gorilla and trying to kill the gorilla.
Okay, the gorilla was shot. 1, 2, 3, 4.
And there was this whole debate in class where we're talking about whether it's the mother's fault or is it the zoo's fault for not having secure barriers for a gorilla.
Anything else you got for me? 3, 2.
Baby was unharmed.
Baby was unharmed. 1, go.
So the gorilla dragged it by its leg twice
That's where
across.
He was protecting the kid.
Yeah.
Actually, it did seem like 1, 2, 3, 4 that initially the gorilla seemed to be protecting the kid, and then it began to drag the child through the water, and people began to scream and whatnot, and they were faced with some choices, right? What was it that they could have actually done?
They could have used tranquilizers to shoot the gorilla.
Could have used tranquilizers. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the danger of that was?
What? Since it's such a big animal, I guess it would take time for the gorilla to go.
1, 2, 3, 4. Anything else?
It would be agitated. There's a chance that it could have gotten agitated and could have just ripped the kid apart.
Yeah, it could have. 1, 2, 3, 4, and they shot and killed it. So what was the controversy?
I mean, yeah, it was, whose fault was it for the kid falling in? Was it the crappy barrier that would let a small kid
Okay, we
fall?
got all that, or maybe they could have done something different. And did anybody in your group remember what Sean said very clearly towards the end of the discussion?
Say it, Sean.
Sean was adamant about this. He got an awful look on his face, in fact, as I recall.
Oh, they should have shot the gorilla sooner.
It was the mom's fault.
No, yeah.
Well, I thought
I don't think he said that. Go ahead, Frank.
it was that the human life is more valuable.
Yeah, Sean came up repeatedly, 1, 2, 3, 4, and said this shouldn't even be a discussion. A human life is more important than a gorilla's life, and that's it. Go ahead, click it. Y'all pick me a category. You have a chance to make a move, but time is running thin.
4 points.
4 points for Constitution. List all you can. Here's your chance. Click it, Willie. Yeah, not the phone click. Death of a president. You've got it next. You've got it now. What was death of a president? Tell me the story of death of a president. 5,
Oh, right.
4.
It was the movie that it was made in another in Europe or something.
Okay, it was made in Britain. Go ahead.
And it spliced the real footage with fake footage of basically George Bush getting assassinated.
Yeah, it did. 1, 2, 3, 4. This was a fictional story about the assassination of George W. Bush. And they actually used real footage. What else was kind of significant about when they did this and all of it? 5.
He was the sitting president.
He was the sitting president. They actually made a movie of assassinating a president when this president was in office. Anything else? 3, 2, 1. Go ahead.
The movie took place in the future, saying this was going to happen soon, not some fictional thing they were predicting him being assassinated.
They actually made this movie about a year out. So in fact, it was a year in the future when the movie was taking place. And why would that seem seemingly problematic?
Because elections?
No, because then that could be basically essentially trying to say, that they want someone to assassinate.
Yeah, you could actually be planting 1, 2, 3, 4 ideas in somebody's head to do something really ridiculous or try something kind of crazy and stupid. Anything else you can tell me about this?
Do you want to hear about the censorship idea?
Okay, I may.
The
4.
So if it was made in the U.S., it probably would have been censored.
Why?
Because it was about the president. And it's about
Why specifically about the president? Why specifically?
They're not bound to U.S. law.
What's that? Promotes violence. What do you mean?
Like the same thing with the Sarah Palin thing.
Oh, go ahead, explain.
It might be legal, it'd be a lot of debate over it if it was just a video, but if it provoked any kind of violence towards the president, then it would be illegal.
See, the trick on this is really the idea that it was the president. You could actually argue in the United States that that would have been threatening the president, and that was part of the reason people didn't like that Sarah Palin, John McCain thing. They weren't president yet, but it was the idea that they were that close and it was getting ready to be the election. This guy was the president, and you might be planting an idea in somebody's head to take the shot.